Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, welcome
Let's
back,
go.
traders. How are we doing, guys? God bless
I wake
each
up
and every
to a
single one of
little
you
bit of
guys,
drool.
and God bless AMC. Oh my God, this thing is going ballistic. Touching a high of 283 today, up at one point, I believe it was 13 freaking percent. So if that's worth a like, right? Slap the like button, you already know, to help the algorithm find this channel. And let's jump straight in to the technical analysis, right? So this broader macro picture, I want to start with this for you guys because I want you guys to see what I'm watching for in the RSI. On the weekly RSI, right? Look at the periods in which you enter the bull zone. Now, we've said in the last video that I thought was hilarious. What happens in the bull zone stays in the bull zone. And what we're watching for here is this is the highest on the weekly RSI, guys, that you have been since 2021 of May. Right, and I'll put the vertical trend lines like I like to do, and just kind of outline the candles on the weekly time frame that you got from entering the bull zone on the weekly time frame, right? And it's only happened twice, 3 times if you include this period right here. All times very, very positive, right? So looking at the weeks, right? Looking at the weeks, you can see in recent history, the ones that we can vividly remember, right? You can taste June of 2021. You had an 116% rally, followed up by an 83% rally. January 2021, 277.7% rally, followed by a retest of your golden cross. And then back here, you went up 4%, 4%, 6%, 5%. Right? So you saw a more elongated stretch higher. So this is not just bull post, right? I'm not here to get anyone overly excited, but this is just the technical analysis I feel that has been lacking on this stock for upwards of 4 to 5 years, right? And you're finally doing something that is notable, right? Worth screaming from the hills, and that's what we're doing, right? We're watching this move occur. We're analyzing the technical levels that you're breaking above. And now you're coming into that bull zone, right? You're what is that? 2.4% away from doing that on the RSI, getting into the 70 territory, in which you could see one of those crazy, crazy candles, right? I would say on average, if I were to ask Grok, you would probably have an average candle, because this is 277, this is 116, that's like 34, of about 80 to 100% from this area, right? We know that if you're 80 to 100% from this area, you're talking above the macro trend line into $4 to $5, and you're getting your golden cross. That is a completely different scenario to what all the bears were saying down here when we were calling this the falling wedge opportunity of a lifetime, right? Looking at this bounce, 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 right? And we were calling it every step of the way because not only did you have this falling wedge on the daily time frame, look at what you had, right? And this is what I want you guys to take away for your own due diligence, right? Your own knowledge is you had some very clear and evident bullish divergence, right? Stock continued to get hammered down, right? While the RSI made its low and made it evident, made it clear, showed signs that the bottom was close to being in. But on the daily time frame, traders, we're doing the dirty, right? We passed above this 250 trend line that we called peak resistance. Just dusted that shit. Right? And this thing is very, very likely, in my opinion, to go up to 318 now that you've seen that extension. But one thing that remains is you still have these touches of bearish div. In fact, you're testing this downtrend on the RSI. So be careful, right? You have a very clear uptrend on the RSI that if you break, right? Let's say you reject here and you come back. If you break this along with the daily RSI band, it's likely, traders, that you see a more elongated kind of either throwback retest consolidation or maybe a potential enter into this channel, potentially down to this trend line. And that trend line, traders, if you're playing calls, which I'm not, right, for clarity's sake, but looks like a phenomenal opportunity on the freaking stock. So that's the daily time frame for you. It looks beautiful. We're going to get into Webull because I want to give you guys an update on probably the most exciting thing of it all, which is the freaking daily golden cross, boys, apes, ladies and gentlemen. You're less than, right? Am I correct in saying that? No, 22 cents away from a daily golden cross as the 50-day EMA is beginning to go vertical. And what news popped up in our feeds today, right? I just want to make this clear and evident for you guys. AMC may soon flash a golden cross, but one key risk remains. I'm not even going to look at the risk because you're starting to see TradingView, institutions, and hedge funds, day traders, literally everyone and their mother start to turn their heads to look at AMC. What is this thing doing, right? It's up now 200% from the rally off the lows, right? 200% exactly. That's amazing, right? And just from this bottom that we were talking about previously, 64% in about 7 days. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. You continue to see the volume pick up here, and you're doing what you have to do, right? If you want to see this break out, you need to see volume continue to trickle in unless you are going to retest this 250 territory. Would not be the worst case scenario, but I know going into a long weekend, people want to see this thing blow through the skies with momentum because that makes Monday open that much more interesting, right? If you can continue to trade and to potentially test the highs of this candle close at 283, closing above 283 traders in my eyes is the most bullish scenario you have ahead of you, right? Because not only are you smashing through this downtrend on the RSI, therefore invalidating your bearish divergence on the daily time frame, you would be pretty much closing the top of this wick, showing that the bulls are in control and you're likely to see further price action. A great example of that is right here, right? You saw a pretty nice spring outside of this resistance, right? And then what did you do? You continued the breakout, right? That's exactly what you're doing here on the daily. You've literally sprung from underneath this 250 territory. You want to see this close rival the previous day. With that, you want to see volume come in because on the weekly time frame, you are doing exactly what we said you should, right? You need to close a higher week in volume, and doing so, right? You're very close. You're about 4 million off, so you're very likely to close the day higher, and that to me, just honesty's sake, shows that the bulls are remaining in control, right? People are jumping into the stock. There's excitement. There's buzz, not intentionally reflecting to Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. There is a buzz, right? There's a buzz among shareholders, among the media, and you're starting to get a lot of attention on AMC. On the daily time frame, let's see, volume closed at 68.8 million. One of the highest trading days in a very long time, right? I think it's about 14 days. 11 trading days, 15 regular days. One thing to mention for you guys, the volume during these runs has often peaked during the top, right? Volume peaked here, April. You saw a 36% downtrend. Volume peaked here. You saw a 20% recovery, and volume is currently peaking, right? So there's a very real opportunity that you may go retest the previous highs again, or potentially this longer elongated move down to the uptrend because of the bearish div. So if you reject this, traders, lose the uptrend, it's likely you come all the way back down. And I just want you guys to be careful for that very real opportunity and threat, right? On the macro chart, we're going to do that before we jump into something else. Monthly candle, is exactly what you need to see from AMC. This thing is absolutely insane. Up 53.7% and clearing your previous uptrend. This resistance pretty much meant nothing to AMC, which is exactly what you want to see. If this thing did reject, you could worry that you wouldn't find a bounce along here and you're going to make another all-time low. We know that that's significantly unlikely because of the trajectory of not just you're cutting costs, you're expanding your top line sales, you're refinancing your debt, the box office is coming back. There's so many good momentum news catalysts for AMC. It's beginning to snowball into what you've seen now, a 200% move to the upside. You do have significant resistance at 318, and I want to make sure that is known, right? That is what we've continued to cover on this stock, that 318 to 320 is going to be not only where you meet this previous top here before you knifed, right, down from 3 all the way down to 90 cents, but it's also where you're going to find the resistance off of this top all-time resistance trend line from AMC. You have seen a resurgence in the stock. You've seen you bust back into this channel, right? This long-term downtrend that you kind of ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, rejection, 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 rejection. You've now bust back into that channel, right? So that's significantly bullish, right? Say it with me, significantly bullish. You're now going in to test the top part of that resistance band. And if you break free from it with the same momentum that you did today above 250, there is nothing stopping you. And I say it again, there is nothing stopping you from seeing one of those weekly candles up 100% on the stock, right? Truthfully, I really, really do mean that. This thing can unhinge very fast. But we have to hedge, right? We have to be careful because this thing may also come back to that 180 to 175 territory. Now, what is the best case scenario for AMC if that happens? You already know, right? The 50-day EMA is rising practically vertically now, which is pretty unheard of from AMC, except for, right? Except for you have not seen a sustained move on AMC to this trajectory, except for right here. So your 50-day EMA is now curling at a rate that is not since back here. And so what you're going to see now, I'm very confident, I'm starting to flock my feathers. You're going to see a golden cross on this thing. You're going to see eventually a retest. And the good news for AMC is that golden cross retest is now going to happen no lower than 170, right? Because you have the 50-day EMA currently trading at 174. That's significantly bullish. And for me, that basically tells me that you're probably not going to come all the way down here to 150 to 160, right? For me. You guys do your own due diligence. I'm not a financial advisor, but I am absolutely jacked on this thing and what could happen going in the future. 4-hour chart, you see a textbook breakout on the 4-hour. And I want to make sure I cover this for you guys because you see just what the 245 trend line that we kind of drew up meant on the 4-hour chart from all of the after-hour wicks. You wicked it once, you wicked it twice. On the third time, you freaking blew past it and then retested it, and then that was your high, right? An 11, or practically 12% candle in 4 hours is insane. And on the 4-hour, right, let's jump to a shorter time frame. Let's jump to the 10-minute here. You're beginning to flag out a little bit. So this is going to be interesting for tomorrow's open, that you have a little bit of a bull pennant here going into tomorrow's open. Now, that is absolutely exciting, right? That is very, very exciting because if this thing gains the momentum from Toy Story, right, from some kind of bull post from Adam Aaron that this man has been going insane on Twitter, you could see a very nice move going into the weekend. You could see this thing rally into, you guessed it, technical confluence 318. You're up 1.88 in the after hours, and that move looks almost too perfect not to happen, in my opinion. That, come on. That would be a beautiful, beautiful thing. On the quarterly time frame, we'll cover that before we stop. It is almost certain now, based off of the quarterly time frame, that you're going to close with higher volume than the previous quarter. You're lacking by about, what is that, 300 million? No, 300,000 volume. So you should easily close that gap in volume between the quarters and close with the highest quarterly volume for the first time since back here in 2024 when you saw that huge squeeze from Roaring Kitty coming back. It is likely with a plus 171% quarterly candle that you're going to see this thing cross for the first time since 2021 when you were in the bull zone on the weekly RSI, right? You saw these moves of 400%, 455%. You're beginning to see, against all odds, really, AMC begin to reprice into higher territory, right? That's really all this is. This is over-leveraged hedge funds. People doubting the stock at 90 cents. The stock is repricing to where it should be. And on AMC, you could actually look on Robinhood, depending on how accurate you trust, right? AMC's short interest reporting is 8.26%. Well, we know there's short shares that are naked, right? But that is fascinating to me, seeing that shorts are actively exiting the chat. And why would you? Why would you bet against this? You're just going to lose your money. Yeah, I think that's what we got on AMC today, guys. I'm going to jump into GameStop. GameStop has absolutely nothing going for it right now, but it does look beautiful within this beautiful bullish pennant, right? You've been trading within this for the last 2.5 years, traders. And you really only have until the end of this year to trade within, at least underneath this trend line and this uptrend. They will meet at a point at around the 1st of 2027. What happens then? We'll find out, right? You should have some kind of clarification on the fundamental news between GameStop and Ryan Cohen's ambitious bid to buy eBay and really a hostile takeover. But you really don't have anything today, right? On the 4-hour chart, a lot of sideways price action. And then on the daily chart, you did come down and fill that gap, which is exactly what you wanted to do. And then you close as a green doji. So not surprising to see. You close underneath the 9-day EMA and you're beginning to get a little bit of a daily MACD cross down. We'll have to watch and see if this occurs. It's likely you come back to this trend line. That's just the reality, unfortunately. And then we'll cover the GME warrants for my boy Only in Paradise. So very interestingly so, GameStop has been showing a lot of strength on the stock, but the GME warrants just absolutely getting obliterated, right? You lost the horizontal trend line at 318 or 317, and what happened was just a clear slide. And what we covered in our last video was if you close at the low, it's likely to go lower. It's exactly what happened. But you've now put in a bullish candle close that we wanted to see, a doji green candle, as well as bouncing off of this very real channel-like structure, right? So there is a likely opportunity here that you go in and bounce short-term if you're trying to play a swing on this thing, which is dangerous, right? But it's likely you bounce into the short-term 9-day EMA, currently sitting at $3, 3 schmeckles, and then also potentially into this horizontal trend line at 318. And then you could look for either a short here or a potential rejection. If you blast through it, that is your best case scenario, and you do have a technically confluent downtrend and uptrend right around this 360 territory. So if this thing goes vertical, there's a likely opportunity that you could see a stark rejection right here, somewhere between early July and end of June. So we'll have to see how this thing plays out. I'm overall leaning kind of bearish on the GME warrants unless you see some kind of fundamental news break this downtrend. Because if you break that downtrend, break this uptrend, you're back into price discovery, and this thing's going to $5 to $6 very easily like that. But you did just have a death cross on the daily, so it's not a great look, right? You're seeing a bounce overnight after hours, 2.17%, and there is a swing opportunity here, but just be careful, right? Do your own due diligence, learn the technical analysis, learn the patterns, learn the candlestick formations, learn the RSI, and all of these things will very easily come naturally to you. I'm telling you, take the time to do your own due diligence. So that's all we got for the day, traders. I hope you guys are having a freaking fantastic, what is it now? Wednesday, a wacky Wednesday. God bless each and every single one of you guys. And remember, traders, if you take anything away from this video, take this. The best is yet to come. Much love and peace.